Business stories of the past month, and that is the roller coaster road of Bitcoin's value. A nearly 40% drop just days after hitting a high of $19,000. Over that kind of volatility has frightened regulators, and today the head of Israel's securities authority, Mull, said he will propose to ban all companies based on Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies from trading on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. And that is amid reports that the Bank of Israel and the finance minister are actually looking at the creation of an official Israeli cryptocurrency designed to reduce dependence on cash. Dr. Vili Abraham, a consumer behavior lecturer and researcher, is here with us. This really touches on the essence of how people are trying to deal with Bitcoin, is exactly how they can handle regulating it and whether they can get it to be a regular part of the financial system that they control. Do you feel like regulators are scared of Bitcoin's volatility alone, or is it also scared of the cryptocurrency concept itself?
I think they're afraid of both the volatility and the concept itself. On the other hand, if you look at financial markets like in Japan, for example, they're embracing the cryptocurrency. Just in the last month, they said that they would accept it and they would legalize it and regulate it. So it really depends where you're looking at in the world. But here it looks like they're more conservative and they're a bit cautious about it. But I think in the long run, it might be accepted by more and more financial institutions. Why? Because first of all, today more and more companies accept Bitcoin. You can buy products or buy games from Microsoft using Bitcoin.
And Vili, what about this idea of that Israel would establish, in a sense, its own cryptocurrency? Why would Israel be looking to do that at the same time it's so concerned about these independent cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin?
Okay, well, the thing is that the black market or the market where, you know, there's a lot of cash and it's not being taxed is very large. It's about 20% of GDP. We're talking about 70 billion shekels, which goes untaxed every year. And if you tax that money, you can allocate it to different things like social causes and welfare, etc. And if you're looking at this trend alongside the trend that more and more people are buying online, it's causing a contradictory idea, because it means that you would expect less people spending cash and more people are spending cash. And if you look at the average amount of money that each Israeli should have in his pocket, if you look at the 70 billion shekels, it should be 8,000 shekels each one of us should have in his pocket. And it's a lot of cash that a lot of us should be having.
Around $2,000.
Yeah, around $2,000, and it means that just very few people have this. Now, why is it happening? If you look at professionals, you look at plumbers, you look at construction workers, you look at handymen that come to your apartment and do some job, they say, look, I did a job for you, it's 200 shekels, and then you say, well, I'd like to have a receipt because it gives me some kind of warranty. And then they say, well, if you want a receipt, please add a 17% VAT. And then a lot of people say, well, you know what, I'll just forget it. Yeah. And that's why you have a big market with a lot of cash there.
So with cryptocurrency, it's easier to track, so that's money that the government is going to be able to track easier than these kind of cash transactions.
Exactly. The purpose is, first of all, to decrease significantly the amount of cash, and the other thing is to enable people to transfer money from one person to the other more easily. It's really easy to transfer money with cryptocurrency.
When we look at governments getting more involved, because down the line they will sort of need to get more involved if we assume that cryptocurrency is not going anywhere, do you think that they will eventually get on board with Bitcoin, for example, or it will be each government coming up with its own form of cryptocurrency that it can control, so to speak?
I would agree with the latter, because first of all, if you look today at the United States, they're considering a Fed coin, which is their Fed coin,
which really is exactly against the notion of Bitcoin's creators.
Yes, right. They're against it, and now they're thinking about creating their own Bitcoin. If you look at Sweden, by the way, if you look at Sweden, consumers in the past 40% of all retail transactions were made in cash. Today they're only 15%, and that's why the government is seriously considering using their own digital currency.
Now, getting back to this question about the volatility of these companies like Bitcoin, is it realistic that ultimately a market like Tel Aviv would be able to keep companies that deal in cryptocurrency, or is this going to be eventually a tidal wave that countries simply going to have to accept?
Well, you know, it's a difficult question because, as you can see, it's really volatile. Meaning, one day it's $20,000 the Bitcoin, and the other day it's worth $17,000. And because it's volatile, it can cause a big economic shock if a lot of financial markets accept it. And I think that's what they're concerned about. I know of a person who sold his apartment in Tel Aviv using Bitcoin. And I said, wow, what a terrible idea. I mean, now you sold an apartment for 6 million shekels, and in about an hour, you're left with 4 million shekels. So it's really curious.
And then there are those who have quadrupled their wealth instantly.